At times, it even happened that I didn't have anything in my mind except for seeing what I was looking at or hearing what I was listening to. My name is Ladi Ojas. Welcome to Skeletal Leap, a living adventure. Skeletal Leap transforms one's life into a personal heaven. Today's episode will tell you how I cracked the codes of instant third eye chakra and crown chakra opening. I had started my coincidental journey cracking the code of instant vision improvement and discovered that I had actually stumbled upon something bigger than instant vision improvement alone. It was actually the ancient chakra system that esoterically talked about 7 chakras blocking the flow of life energy from the first chakra to the seventh one through the human spine. It also talked, though esoterically, about opening all 7 of them to crack more codes concerning various other issues that humanity faced. What I had stumbled upon were the sixth and the seventh chakras located in the skull, which I had somehow coincidentally maneuvered in order to crack the code of instant vision improvement alone. Therefore, after having cracked the code of instant vision improvement, I had decided to go deep within the entire system with an intention of denuding it of its esoteric garbs and cracking the codes of instant chakra openings individually in a tangible manner as opposed to its intangible approach for doing the same. By now, I had already done it up to the first 5 chakras. At this juncture, I decided to go deeper into the opening of 6th and 7th chakras in the skull to check if it could do something more than just cracking the code of instant vision improvement alone. I moved on to further investigate into cracking the codes of instant third eye and crown chakra opening in their depth. I had already done it up to a certain level through maneuvering the alignment of my upper and lower jaws. I wanted to check if having opened the 5 lower chakras would make any difference in that maneuver or not. In the beginning, I checked it for the third eye chakra alone. It worked perfectly well as far as the eyesight clarity achieved by incomplete central fixation of the eyes was concerned. But I witnessed a difference in my effort to open it. It was like my jaws were waiting for a slight cue with their incisors in the center to get aligned to each other. There was much less effort involved in doing so this time. I discovered it was because my open throat chakra had already prepared the ground for them developing a tendency in them to align at the slightest cue. It really encouraged me to check for the complete central fixation of the eyes involving the crown chakra along. Again, I witnessed a similar difference in my effort to open it. It didn't even tire me as much as it used to do before after a certain gap of time. In fact, even that gap of time had extended considerably in this case of involving the crown chakra alone. This confirmed my hypothesis that an open throat chakra really prepared a ground for my jaws, developing a tendency in them to align in their total width at the slightest cue. It meant that the skull chakras were getting a support from the torso chakras in order to open. In fact, C3 vertebra is known to have an anatomical connection with mandible in the skull. There was one more difference that I noticed. In both the cases, including the third eye chakra alone and the crown chakra along, they had started opening more effectively. The clarity of the eyesight as well as the luster in my eyes had increased considerably. I could clearly feel the muscles in my skull getting relaxed, including frontalis on the forehead and occipitalis at the back of the head when I opened my third eye chakra alone. And when I added the crown chakra in my opening procedure, the feeling of relaxation extended to temporalis muscles on both sides of my skull just above the earlobes. As this happened, my neck started rotating in 180 degrees without any sign of rigidity in it. As the relaxation increased, it started affecting my psyche as well. The clarity of the eyesight started getting translated to the clarity of thinking, with my confusions getting dissolved on their own. I felt I was able to take my decisions on the spur of the moment without ever having to look back at them. It was like my mind had started getting lighter and lighter via throwing all the heavy feelings off. It was much less stuffed with the emotional memories of the past and even the emotional imaginations about the future. At times, it even happened that I didn't have anything in my mind except for seeing what I was looking at or hearing what I was listening to. At such moments, I just lost the sense of time passing by. It was quite meditative in itself. I realized my physical maneuvers had started opening up my mental and spiritual dimensions as well. And then I discovered something extremely surprising. One day I felt I hadn't been breathing for long. As I actually focused at it, I realized my breathing had gone so slow that I had mistakenly started feeling I hadn't been breathing for long. I was certainly breathing, but it had gone almost imperceptible. As I consciously started perceiving it, I felt the air passing while inhaling through my upper nostrils, creating an extremely pleasurable sensation with all its aroma along. It spelled ultimate peace in my mind as well as a greatly enhanced sensitivity in my spirit. But it was at this point that I again got stuck. I instinctually as well as intuitively knew there was much more to it, and it wasn't supposed to be a full stop at this point. The reason? I had gone through quite a few random experiences in the past, either at the level of being a witness to them or else at the level of being the experiencer myself. I had seen as well as witnessed energy spontaneously bursting out instantaneously for a few moments, or else in a cool, gradual flow for hours together. Both of them had been equally satiating experiences. I needed an answer to them through analyzing them first in order to be able to synthesize them later. It was exactly like I had done with chakras up to this point of my involvement in them. I strongly felt that if chakras were blocking the flow of life energy, opening them couldn't have been limited to establishing them as a panacea alone. The story wasn't supposed to end here at such a cool point of resolving all the various health issues so quietly. It certainly needed to have some exciting climaxes in the domain of energy, dealing with the kinds of miracles that we occasionally witness, though rarely so. And I was so sure about this instinctual or intuitive feeling of mine simply because of myself had experienced them in my own body more than occasionally. I again decided to keep my patience and let things unfold as they would in the due course of time, exactly like my previous episodes had borne fruit while cracking the codes of instant eyesight improvement and instant chakra openings individually. At this point, let me enlist the main features of the skull muscles and the only movable joint in the skull with the anatomy and physiology ahead. The skull of the Homo sapiens is freely balanced on the vertebral column at its first vertebra named atlas, supported by the next six cervical vertebrae, especially the second one named axis, denoted together by the letter C for cervical and the number 1 for first as C1 and number 2 for second as C2. Occipital condyles maintain the balance of the vertebral column dynamically. This is the main reason a human head can be postured erect even without the prominent supraorbital ridges and strong muscular attachments that are necessary in apes. As a result, frontalis and occipitalis muscles are only used for facial expressions and central fixation of the eyes. The spinal cord, as an extension of the medulla oblongata, enters the vertebral column through foramen magnum and occipital bone opening. The size of the human brain has also played a very big role in bipedal evolution. It is 3 to 4 times larger for its body size than that of its nearest evolutionary relative, chimpanzee. The skull acts as a protective cavity for the brain. It houses the majority of the sense organs, including eyes, ears, nose, and tongue, along with skin, which is the most sensitive on its lips. It has 2 parts to it, the neurocranium and membranous viscerocranium, with the mandible as the latter's largest bone. Numerous flat bones are fused together as sutures to give the human skull its shape. The mandible is the only major movable bone that engages with the neurocranium via temporomandibular joints. In episode 3, I had spoken about the third eye chakra and the crown chakra coming into existence due to bipedal evolution. I had also explained how to open them by maneuvering the temporomandibular joints in the same episode. I will repeat them here in the end of this episode. At a future point in my memoir further, it might be useful to touch upon the mind and how it got structured in Homo sapiens by the third eye and the crown chakras that arose from bipedal evolution. I will also describe the role of the only movable joint, the temporomandibular joint of the skull, in opening these chakras, thereby emptying the mind as I discovered it later. Symptoms that point to the existence of the closed third eye and crown chakras mainly include problems in one's vision, chronic headaches, and signs of stress. An open third eye chakra is characterized by a sharp perception. Similarly, an open crown chakra is characterized by a deep empathetic insight into life. The two of them are very similar to each other with only one difference between them. An open crown chakra can see the macro view of what an open third eye chakra sees, only the micro version. In other words, what an open third eye chakra can see in 1 single degree, the crown chakra does in 270. In fact, as I discovered, there are 2 types of visual central fixation possible. One is associated with an open third eye chakra alone, providing a crystal clear, bright, and sharp tunnel vision or perception. It's achieved by relaxing the frontalis muscle while accommodating with the help of occipitalis. Everything out of this tunnel is blurred and dull. The other one is associated with both an open crown chakra and an open third eye chakra together. This central fixation provides a crystal clear, bright, sharp, wide vision, including peripheral vision, perception, and empathy. It's achieved by relaxing both the frontalis and the temporalis muscles while accommodating with the help of occipitalis. In my personal opinion, this has been my biggest discovery in the chakra discipline. In the latter type of central fixation, the eyes turn bright and charmingly lustrous. I call this lustrous shine the real smiles, meaning smiling with the eyes. Also, the sharpness of the eyesight is closely linked with an insight into life. The brain's perception needs to be aided by the recording tool that is a sharp eye. In other words, a clear vision in the eye leads to a clear worldview as well. Therefore, we must really say that our eyes are the real windows to the brain and not to the mind. That's why the third eye chakra has been assigned 2 iconic petals, whereas the crown chakra has been assigned full 1000. And that is why the crown chakra is called the king of all chakras. Finally, I came up cracking the codes of instant third eye chakra and crown chakra opening. Download the codes of instant third eye chakra opening and instant crown chakra opening in the resources section of Skeletal Leap Book 1, available on skeletalleap.com/the mind body connection. Let's not forget that caveat here. The crown chakra cannot be effectively opened unless third eye chakra is already open. Thanks for listening to this episode of Skeletal Leap, a living adventure. In the next episode, I will tell you how I cracked the code of instant Kundalini awakening and establishing gut-brain communication. Be a part of Skeletal Leap community. Subscribe to Skeletal Leap newsletter. Click on the link in the description to subscribe.